Okay, welcome back to our tutorials. In the last one, we set up 3 new external events. Actually, this one should be up here. Let's move this where it should be. And we set up some new variables as well, global variables, to keep track of how often we want to run these events. So let's just deal with one of them for right now. Let's just deal with the inventory move external event here, okay? And we do have a global variable that we created to keep track of when we want to run this. And that's in the iManager one. It's called inventory move. Here it is. And when inventory move equals, whoops, what did I just do? When inventory move what is going on? There it is. When inventory move equals 1, we're going to run this code. And as always, we want to bookend this a little bit. We want to bookend this so that the code shuts down. So let's add at the end here to set the value of inventory move equal to 0. So we won't just keep repeating here. All right, let's add a new subcondition, put it in between there. And for a move, all we need to do or concern ourselves with is the open slot, right? And what items we are moving and removing. So let's think about this for a second. When we're moving from, and it might help actually to have the inventory up, right? So let me go ahead and run our preview here. And right now we're just concerned with from here to here. We'll code this later on and it'll be easy because we already did this one. So we're going to move from here to here, right? So let's say we want to move this item to our chest, right? It should say, let's first look to see if we have an open slot, right? If we do, it should show up as slot 3. We want to take the information from this place and put it in here, and then remove the information here, right? So we have to move and remove at the same time, all right? So how are we going to do this? We're going to say, we're going to use our expression here, and we're going to say, okay, we're moving to the chest, which means we're looking for chest inventory. We want is filled, right? Now we know it's 1 because we already said it's 1 in terms of the page. So this is the information that we don't know right now. Okay. So let's input our expression, right? We start an expression with a bracket, open bracket, and then global variable string, because it wants to be read as one string here, text it wants to be read as. Global variable string, open parenthesis, and what information are we looking for here? We want the open slot from the chest, right? So that would be iManager dot chest open slot. Let's close our parenthesis and let's close up our bracket. And all we need to do is say set that to 1 so that the is filled is now shows that that item is filled. That's easy enough. For the next one is going to be the count. right? Now we don't have much to do in terms of the item count because we're not doing much with the item count right now. We're just using basically ones. That's it. So we can set that equal to 1 for now. But then it gets a little bit more difficult here when we want to do the item ID, right? We need the item ID. We need to set it to the item ID of the inventory slot that it's coming from. So how is that going to look? That's going to look basically like this. I believe global variable. Then it's going to be Bob inventory. Now, we don't know what it is, which slot it is, right? So we need bracket to insert our expression here. And it's global variable string, I believe. Still wants to be read as a string here, I believe. And then it's the current choice. So it would be imanager dot current choice. Whoops, current choice. And then let's make sure I get all the rest of this right. So it's close bracket dot item ID close parentheses. All right. So this matches that. That matches this. That matches this. All right. Now, the last thing we want to do is we want to run an update. We're going to do a check here, right? I know we haven't deleted the item yet, but we want to do a check to see if it moves the item over or not. So let's add another subcondition here. And let's run an inventory. Let's run a check on both our chest inventory and our regular inventory here. And in order to do that, we just need to set the values of those checks to 1. So it's inventory check equals 1, right? And we can copy and paste this and just change this to chest inventory check equals 1 as well. All right. So let's go to our inventory manager code and let's try to run this bad boy here. The only thing we need to worry about is whether or not there's an open slot in the chest or not. So we want to run a check for open slot on our chest. And I think the best way to do that is as soon as the cursor touches a move, the button move, we should get that information. So let's add a chest check for open slot. Right here. And then that way, this way, we can add a condition for whether or not there's an open slot. That would be chest open slot is greater than 0 means that it came back with an open slot actually, right? Because if you remember our inventory check, the way it works is it's at 0 at the beginning, and then if it stays at 0, then it means there is no open slots. So as long as it's greater than 0, it means that there's an open slot. We can run our code here for inventory move. Now you might be thinking, why are we using the chest in the inventory one? Because that's the slot that needs to be open is in the chest, and we'll do vice versa in the other one. So I already forgot what the name of it's inventory move. Okay. inventory move equals 1. All right, let's see how we did here. Let's see if we can move the item over. All right. It worked. Now, what about if we did this? That worked too. All right, so now we just need to add a delete for these items over here. So let's go back into our inventory move, and let's add the subsequent deletion here. So what do we need to delete? We need to do a 0 to Bob's inventory and it needs to be a 0 for the expression here of global variable string imanager.currentChoice, right? That's the slot, is the current choice one. Dot is filled equals 0. We need to also 0 out, and this is the easy part, we need to 0 out the item count, and we need to 0 out the item ID. And the last thing I want to do here, since this code worked out so well, I'm going to copy this, paste it, and I'm going to change this to the item count just for future purposes. We'll set the item count here to the actual item count of Bob's inventory. So let's get rid of this one here, and let's leave that like this. All right, let's see how we did. Let's run a preview. Look at that. All right, so what happens when we do this? Good. Nothing. Exactly what it should do is nothing, because there's no room. But what if we do that? Perfect. All right. Next tutorial, we'll work on this one and even begin our coding for our swap that we need to do.